San Francisco Bay sets the scene for the Allianz Cup, the 5th stop in the World Match Racing Tour. St. Francis Yacht Club hosts the inaugural event. The club, with its long association with American sailing, is situated between San Francisco's two most iconic landmarks, the unused Alcatraz prison and the majestic Golden Gate Bridge. The bay is renowned for its constant breeze and strong tidal currents, which makes team tactics and reading the breeze vital ingredients to succeeding in the tricky harbor conditions.
I've always wanted to come to this venue. This is probably one of the best sailing venues in the world. The way the wind blows here, it's a fantastic venue for the type of sailing we do on the World Match Racing Tour, bringing the racing to the public. All the major teams are here and all the top sailors in the world. We've got Chris Dixon from BMW Oracle Racing, Peter Holmberg and Ed Baird from Team Alinghi, Ben Ainsley from Emirates Team New Zealand, Cameron Dunn from Mascalzoni Latino. They're here, they're training for the America's Cup. I mean, this is where they're going to get the one-on-one racing against the other teams, close combat, see how the umpires are making the calls, check out the new moves that they have on the other teams. We've got these America's Cup teams, but we also have got the world champions like Peter Gilmore, and we've also got this group of up-and-coming young sailors like Ian Williams, Matthew Richard, Brian Angel, and they're going to be the next wave of America's Cup skippers in the future. But also, we have local Larry Ellison sailing in the event, and that's pretty exciting for the World Match Racing Tour as well.
Well, here we are at the Allianz Cup in San Francisco. It's a great regatta in the I guess sort of in the lee of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a really a fun event. Great competitors here this week. Looking forward to it.
It's an awesome setup here at the St. Francis Yacht Club, right in the centre of San Francisco. Brilliant setting and absolutely fantastic turnout of crews. Top notch.
Well, you're going to see spectacular scenery behind the racing, and the racing should be close and fantastic. But it's difficult. There's going to be the level of difficulty of what we're trying to do when we match race these other top teams in this difficult venue. It's pretty high.
I think this is by far the strongest lineup we've ever sailed against. We've been to a World Tour event, we've been to a couple Grade 1s, but this is on a different level, there's no question about it. So I think we're looking at it as this is a chance to see where we stand and maybe learn a few things from the best.
San Francisco Bay is always a pretty wild place to sail. We get the tides and strong winds, and being right here next to the club, it's always dramatic.
Oh, great to be racing in the Bay again. It's hometown for our team, and we've got a world standard Grade 1 match race event. It's going to be a good one.
This is actually another major step for us in the sport of sailing. We have entered a partnership with the American Challenger for the America's Cup, which is BMW Oracle Racing 2 years ago. And now we want to bring this impression of world-class match sailing also to the US. And here I can't think of a more spectacular venue than the San Francisco Bay and the Golden Gate in the background. So this is our intention, to bring this world-class sailing here to San Francisco, bring it closer to the people.
In match racing, two teams engage in frantic and dramatic one-on-one action to be fastest around a four-leg windward-leeward course. Starting with 4 minutes of furious pre-start close-quarter action, the teams circle and cross, tack and jibe to gain the advantage over their opponent before the start gun has even fired. Once racing upwind, the lead boat will attempt to control the other boat by covering or blocking its wind. The second boat is forced to tack and sail for clean air. The boats will round the windward mark and sail downwind to the leeward mark, where the second boat can now block the wind of the boat ahead with its spinnaker. The boats will sail 2 to 3 laps, and often the winner is not determined until the final few boat lengths, but ultimately, the first to cross the finish line wins. A privately owned fleet of 35-foot J105s will be used, with the yacht's owners riding on board to see what the best in the world can get out of the boats. An 8 to 10 knot northeasterly wind got the racing underway with the Group A round robin. We now join Chris Dixon and local Chris Perkins in the 4th match of the first flight.
Well, straight into the action, and it is Chris Dixon, the skipper of the BMW Oracle Racing team, he's got the pick of around 60 of the world's greatest sailors in his America's Cup team against Chris Perkins, a local from the San Francisco Bay Area who doesn't quite have that kind of dollar behind his boat. Having said that, Chris Perkins, he's closest to us here as the gun goes, has done a real nice job there on Chris Dixon, who you can now see just behind. And as they go up the racecourse, it is Chris Dixon who's a little bit behind, so even the pick of his America's Cup team isn't helping him right now, and they really need to come back at this. But it looks like Dixon there, furthest away, has got a little something on the left-hand side. Chris Perkins coming in from the right, just ahead. Looks like Chris Perkins just ahead. It's only by half a boat length or so. Kazuhuku Safuku there on the bow of Chris Dixon's boat. Here goes Chris Perkins around the top. Now there's a little bit of tide here in San Francisco Harbor, and there are 2 windward marks, so they have to go a little bit further to the left-hand side. The tide sweeps you onto the buoy, as you can see here. Dixon having to be very careful that he doesn't hit the mark. Chris Perkins, super hoist, excellent downwind, and really this is the first upset of the week. Chris Perkins beats Chris Dixon.
This is going to be one of the hardest regattas I've ever raced, and we're not looking at wins, losses. We just have to sail every race our best. Honestly, as you saw, that was an extremely close race. It came down to just a couple crew maneuvers. I think we got our kite set at the weather mark and got a little bit of a jump. Chris wasn't able to come back on that. That's what it's going to take to win these races. Even start, good pace up the beat, but in the end, I credit that one to the crew.
The young gun versus the experienced battler as Ben Ainsley takes on Peter Holmberg in Flight 6 of the round robin.
Well, a very close incident right off the bat between Peter Holmberg and Ben Ainsley, and Holmberg is coming towards Ben Ainsley here. Ben Ainsley now sailing with Emirates Team New Zealand and showing that he is the match for any of these skippers, even though he's now only been racing this kind of format for a couple of years now. His 2 golds and a silver medal at the Olympics certainly showing why he is at the front of the match racing fleet and a real force to be reckoned with in the America's Cup. On board here with Peter Holmberg, who is a veteran of the World Match Race Tour. He has been sailing these boats for at least 5 or 10 years and has won many, many events. There goes the start. And it's Holmberg who comes in from the committee boat side, and he has definitely schooled Ben Ainsley on this occasion, and Ainsley's really got to do something here to get back at Holmberg. You saw at the start, Peter Holmberg at least 2 boat lengths ahead, and Ben Ainsley not in good shape at all. On board now with Ainsley, so he's got to show how quick he is around the racecourse to try and get something back at Peter Holmberg, using one of the boats that's coming downwind to try and put Peter Holmberg off as they come towards the top mark. There's Holmberg there, just coming around the top. Ainsley and his Emirates Team New Zealand crew. That's Terry Hutchinson there, the tactician on board the America's Cup boat. As they sail downwind, it looks like Ainsley's really caught up a little bit there. There's probably only 2 or 3 boat lengths in it. Here they come to the bottom. Spinnaker douse, very important to get that clean and tidy and get the jib in on time. Holmberg just a little late on the jib by a fraction. There's Terry Hutchinson calling the tactics. Boy, that's a big container ship going through underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
Nice,
Certainly potentially causing a wind shift or a change in strength in the breeze. That's like a block of flats just going straight by you. And look at the lead that Ainsley has eaten into of Peter Holmberg. They are now bow to stern pretty much. There's only around 2 or 3 meters in it, so Ainsley has really done well. Now they're coming downwind, both the spinnakers are up. Ainsley tried to jibe early and down towards the finish. Holmberg has shown his experience and his smarts. He's just been able to hold off Ainsley, has he? Well, it's close, you can see the finish line. Yet Holmberg holds off Ainsley for a well-fought win.
All of Group A's 7 flights were completed on day 1. Ian Williams, Ben Ainsley and Peter Holmberg are through to the quarterfinals.
We're pretty happy with a day like today because really tricky place to sail, eh? Long courses, so it's not just match racing, you gotta be smart and So I think we're pretty happy coming away with it as we are, making it through the next round.
Day 2 and light winds postpone the morning's racing, but entertainment is on hand from Sean D. Tucker, the world's leading aerobatic performer. 6 knots of north-northwesterly breeze finally got racing underway for the Group B round robin. The light winds and strong tidal currents are going to make for a difficult afternoon of sailing. Joining the first match of the day, Cameron Dunn taking on Frenchman Mathieu Richard with expert commentator Andy Green.
Well, 2 of the up-and-coming stars of the World Match Race Tour, Mathieu Richard on board with him right now from France against Cameron Dunn, who's one of the helmsmen for the Mascalzoni Latino America's Cup team. There's a Y flag on the play. There are the umpires. Look, a blue flag already against Cameron Dunn for not keeping clear. The Y flag is when the competitors think that the other team has fouled, and they'll put up that flag. The umpires following right behind the action to make sure all is fair on the race course. In days past, they used to go to a protest room, which would take all night long, and no one would know the result until the end of the race. So now, on the water umpires, excellent innovation in match racing, now the norm. On board here with Mathieu Richard. The French countdown, a little clue as to which boat you're on. And there goes the start. Richard takes the committee boat end of the line. And there's Cameron Dunn. And Dunn looks like he didn't pick the correct side. And Mathieu Richard leads by about a boat length and a half. Maybe a little less, 3/4 of a boat length possibly. Super scenery here in San Francisco. Coming to the windward mark, here is the hoist on board Mathieu Richard's boat. Cameron Dunn's boat, you can hear him just calling the hoist there. They're coming downwind. Cameron Dunn looks like he's in quite good shape. Now the key to the downwind part of this game is to try and take the wind out of the sails of the boat in front. And look at what Cameron Dunn has been able to do. For sure he has gained significantly, and that is because he's placed his boat exactly in the path of the wind, and he slowed Mathieu Richard down. And look at this, here goes the drop. This is they're under pressure here. The bow team's right at the front of the boat, really under pressure. There's Cameron Dunn, he got the inside, and they've decided it's a green flag. Now remember, Cameron Dunn still has a penalty against him around the racecourse here. So he has to, at some point before the finish, Cameron Dunn must complete his penalty. Now he's done well because he was behind and now he's ahead. So that is the first point. Cameron Dunn puts up a Y flag. I think he's unlikely to get that one. 3 basic rules of match racing. If you're on the right, you're in the right. Here, Cameron Dunn's now luffing, and Mathieu Richard has managed to squeeze ahead of him at the windward mark. Well, 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 it's back and forth all the way here. Mathieu Richard was ahead. Then Cameron Dunn jibed around the top mark. Keep up, following the action, because it's all to play for. And look at the breeze. Suddenly the breeze has gone light, and that's why there's opportunities. Cameron Dunn is back ahead, but remember, he has a penalty against him. Umpire's green flagging, so they've decided there's no penalty there. Another green flag. Cameron Dunn, the blue flag on the umpire boat right in the middle. Oh, it's getting pretty Italian and pretty crazy on board Cameron Dunn's boat now. They're getting their spinnaker down and they're luffing Mathieu Richard again. There we go. What do the umpires think about that? That's contact. Oh, the umpires give a yellow flag. So Cameron Dunn has done exactly what he needed to do. He's equalised the penalties, and by that, his blue penalty has been equalised. There are no penalties between anybody. Now it's just whoever goes across the finishing line wins. And look at that, it's Cameron Dunn. What a super, super race.
In the end, we should win, but I made a big mistake in the end of the last downwind leg. And they got us, and they managed to equalize the penalty, and then we had the second one. So frustrating, because I think we were in a very good position to win this match, and we lost it.
Really good work by the guys down the last run. We did some really nice jibes and managed to get them hooked to windward of us, and you saw what happened from there. It was good. Stoked. Nice way to start the event.
Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, skippering one of the two BMW Oracle teams racing at the regatta, finished the round with 2 wins from 7 races and found the experience a touch humbling.
And sailing against this caliber of skipper and these quality of teams is quite astonishing how good they are at what they do. It was just really an honor for me to be out amongst them and get a little bit lucky today with a lot of help from Gavin Brady and the rest of the crew to get a couple of wins today. But these are the best sailors in the world, and it's an honor to be out and race against them.
At the end of the round-robin stages, Ian Williams, Peter Holmberg, Ben Ainslie and Chris Dixon from Group A, and Ed Baird, Paolo Cian, Jesper Bank and Peter Gilmore from Group B advanced to the next round. With 5 America's Cup skippers and 6 Olympic medals in the mix, the competition couldn't be tougher. Light winds meant that racing was abandoned after the completion of the second round robin, and the repechage had to be dropped due to time constraints. As a result, Chris Dixon goes through to the quarterfinals on points differential.
We're up against Ed Baird and clean slate to start again, so we're pleased to be alive. We've survived the first half of the regatta and looking forward to getting out there and doing some more racing.
Ben Ainslie and the Emirates Team New Zealand crew go up against the Inform Italian syndicate skippered by Paolo Cian.
We know that we are going to face a very strong team. Team New Zealand is very well trained, they work a lot together, so it will be tough, but I mean, in these conditions yesterday we were apparently confident with the boat, good feeling, and the team is doing a very good job speed-wise and on the tactics, so I think we can do well.
Peter Gilmore is matched up against tour leader Ian Williams in their quarterfinal.
The conditions are light and somewhat variable, and you know, I think that it's going to be a long, hard day.
I think once you get to this level, once you get to this stage, it's who sails better on the day. You know, Peter Gilmore's 4 times world champion, so we're not expecting him to be off his game at all now at the quarterfinals. We just got to go out and sail our best race that we can, and hope that's better than his.
The other quarterfinal sees America's Cup skippers Jesper Bank and Peter Holmberg go head-to-head. Chris Dixon got off to a great start, winning his first match against Ed Baird. Baird came back to win the next 2 matches. Ben Ainslie leads Paolo Cian by 2 wins to 1. Peter Holmberg is holding off Jesper Bank, winning races 2 and 3 after losing the first match. We now go to race 4 between Peter Gilmore and Ian Williams, Williams with a 2-1 lead. If he can win here, it will be the first time he has beaten Gilmore in a knockout round.
He's a turning all the time there. Flag him.
Well, quarter-final action, Ian Williams against Peter Gilmore. And Williams is starting on the back foot because he has been penalised. He's got a penalty against him. But it looks like Gilmore is considerably further behind than he should be, giving Williams the opportunity to do his penalty any point around the racecourse. And look at that, Gilmore was over the starting line, just getting info from the race officer. Over the starting line, had to go back, and look at the deficit that he suffered. Williams now streaking to a handy lead. He needs the handy lead because he's got a penalty against him. But it's around 22 to 24 second lead, maybe a little less that, to complete the penalty, and it looks like Williams has got that, no problem. Sun's out on San Francisco Bay. That's Mark Williams, Ian's brother. There's the umpire, Bill Edgerton. Here we go. The penalty completing now by Ian Williams. Has to go through the eye of the wind and tack. And on a upwind leg, he has to perform a jibe, and that's the jibe that they've just performed.
If you want, Bill. Are you
Bill Hardesty there, the tactician. Here's Gilmore tacking behind Williams, and look at that, he is a long way behind. He's still 3 or 4 lengths behind Williams. And Williams puts the spinnaker up. There's Jerry Mitchell, his main sheet man. New sponsor this regatta, Pindar Alpha Graphics, who are printing company. That's very good news for Ian Williams. That'll help him out for the next season or two. And certainly this victory will also help him out the first time he's beaten Gilmore in a knockout series. Happy days.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, we've been trying for ages to beat Gilly. We've never beaten him before in a finals round, so to finally come through and get him is a great moment for us.
It's all tied up in the quarterfinal between Peter Holmberg and Jesper Bank. After 4 races, we join the deciding match with Andy Green.
Well, it's always nice to have a deciding race. All tied up between Holmberg and Bank, 2 of the America's Cup skippers and helmsmen in San Francisco Bay doing proper action. There you go, the Y flag, that's the protest we talked about, and there was clearly a protest because there was a collision between those 2 boats. And there goes the start, and it's Jesper Bank who is behind the line. And look at that, Peter Holmberg above the line. That is not a good look, and he has to start again. If you're over the line at the gun, you've got to go back. But it looks like even with that incident in the pre-start, there are no penalties, so there is an opportunity for Peter Holmberg to get back at him. Yeah, crew look very smart in their Allingi gear, but you don't look so smart when you're behind. He's got to do something here. Jesper Bank, very accomplished match racer, been to the Olympics, won medals aplenty, and is now skipper and helmsman for the United Internet Team Germany America's Cup team. But look at this, Holmberg's coming back at him. It's not over yet by any stretch. There's a simultaneous dousing of the spinnakers. Curtis blew it on the bow, just calling for the halyard to come down. And Jesper Bank,
I think it's time to go fast.
Trying to hold on to it as Holmberg just squeezes around the back of him. Look at this, these 2 boats are like tied together with elastic. Nothing in it, there's a boat length in it back and forth. Holmberg now jibing back, look at light, the breeze is a little lighter. Boy, it is close coming into the finishing line here, and it's just Jesper Bank who holds on by a whisker against Peter Holmberg, and they take it to go through to the semis.
After having held Peter over at the start, things looked pretty good. We wanted the ride, we got the ride, and we opened a big lead. But they managed to come back very well, using the pressure and probably also the tide on the first run. So it was neck to neck at the leeward mark, and then again we managed to round ahead of them, and we couldn't quite soak down in front of them. So they would roll us after we jibed first time, so we went away and came back, and actually I think when we came to the finish line we had the wind after their kite, and when we jibed to the line here now, I don't know what was in it, a meter or so.
So to wrap up the quarterfinal action, Ben Ainsley was in control of his match up against Paolo Cian, dropping only the 3rd flight, then winning the 4th when Cian was saddled with a penalty. Ian Williams took down Peter Gilmore for the first time in a knockout series. Ed Baird lost only the first match to Chris Dixon, then rallied 3 straight wins, and in a close quarterfinal series, Jesper Bank and Peter Holmberg raced the full 5. The semi-finals see 2 young guns in Ian Williams and Ben Ainsley go head-to-head. Who would win the Battle of the Brits? America's Cup skippers Jesper Bank and Ed Baird would fight it out for the other spot in the finals.
Yeah, it's a big day for us. Obviously a new wind direction. We've got the westerly breeze finally that we've been hoping for all week. Probably slightly stronger breeze today than we've seen earlier in the regatta, and so it's going to be an exciting day.
Well, every race we sail, we have great respect for the opponent, and certainly with 2 gold medals, Jesper Bank is a very strong opponent. So we know we have our work cut out for us still to go and beat him, and we just have to go out and fight as hard as we can in every race. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later that we can beat him, but you know, we've had things go the other way before too, so we know it's dangerous.
We join Jesper Bank and Ed Baird in their 3rd semi-final race, with Baird holding a 2-win advantage.
Here we go into the pre-start, Jesper Bank against Ed Baird. Well, in the semi-finals, Jesper Bank dispatched one of the Allingi helmsmen, Peter Holmberg, in the final deciding race. And now he's just got another of them. They're lining up like ducks at the fairground, but unfortunately these ones are pretty hard to shoot down. This time it's Ed Baird, who is the other helmsman for the Allianz America's Cup team. The umpires, you can see right behind them, keeping very close eye on the action. They're in the pre-start. This is the 4 minutes of action where the skippers try and get a jump on each other. They either try and get a penalty on their opposition, they try and start ahead of their opposition. There goes the gun, and look who started ahead on this occasion, even though just slightly to leeward. It is Jesper Bank, but he has forced Ed Baird to tack away. And the reason that's happened is that Jesper Bank was pushing bad air onto the sails of Ed Baird, and he was forced to tack. And look, if your first boat to tack, it's very costly. Jesper Bank being able to tack just underneath Ed Baird and force him away into the action on the rest of the race course. And that'll be slow there for Ed Baird. Here they come together again up the race course. If you're coming from the right hand side, first rule of match racing, starboard takes precedence over port. So if you're on the right, you're in the right. There's Mike Mottle sailing with Jesper Bank, but boy, this is close here. As they get to the top, there's a green flag from the umpires and a white flag on the play, and I think Ed Baird might have just pulled a move there. Ed Baird just pulled a move where he ducked underneath Jesper Bank and squeezed himself in to the windward mark. Mike Drummond calling tactics for Ed Baird as they come to the bottom. Ed Baird and his crew still ahead. Jesper Bank is feeling the brunt of a bit of a punch there at the windward mark, because Ed Baird really showing some sweet skills. Now Baird is pulling away a little bit. He's got at least a 2 to 3 boat length lead now. Jesper Bank's going to have to do something to get back at him here. Well, look at that. All it took was one mistake right at the beginning, and Ed Baird takes this race against Jesper Bank.
Wow, it was all happening there. We had, of course, we were behind at the beginning, had to fight our way back, but then we got tangled up with another pair going downwind, and it just, you know, my guys did a fantastic job of just hanging in there until we had a little opportunity, and then we were able to stay in front.
Ben Ainsley has been in dominating form in his semi-final matchup against Ian Williams. We join the fourth race with Ainsley leading 2 wins to 1.
Well, Ian Williams against Ben Ainsley, and it's the battle of the Brits. On board with Ben Ainsley just then, he is to windward on the right. Terry Hutchinson there on the bow, the tactician usually of their America's Cup team. Williams following behind. They're going right towards the Yacht America. That is a replica of the boat that very first sailed in the America's Cup 1851.
He's a little early, isn't he? Can we cross him? Can we cross him?
So Williams is talking that he's a little bit early. Can we cross him? Trying to cross him, certainly leading. Well, Ainsley thinking that Williams didn't keep clear. What do the umpires think about that?
Build speed on starboard, full speed. Full speed, guys, sheet on.
Onboard shots and audio giving us a great insight into the communication between the skippers and their crew. There goes the gun, and Williams has got the right-hand side, so he hasn't done too badly there at all, Williams. He's got the right, and that means that he has starboard advantage. You can see Ainsley doesn't have room to be able to tack and cross in front of Williams.
Time to go then, Bill. What do you think?
And Williams is now ahead. Bill Hardesty calling tactics, constant communication with Ian Williams.
No, yes?
Well, here we go, on board Ian Williams on the left. He's talking to Bill Hardesty as tactician. Should we tack, should we not? A little bit of indecision there on board Ian Williams' boat.
Let's pick a nice strong time.
Williams asking for a nice strong time on board Ben Ainsley's boat. That's Tony Ray doing the main sheet. It looks like they're more focused on the boat speed.
Let's take it.
Here we go, Williams tacks.
Go behind him here.
Ainsley just talking about going directly behind him. So here's a duck. You need 3 eyes to watch this split screen action, but it brings it to you right into the living room. San Francisco Bay to your sofa, and it is Williams who is just ahead, but it's only half a boat length, and the difference here is he has given Ainsley the right-hand side. There's James Dagg, the trimmer, on board with Ben Ainsley. Look how hard he's hiking out, counterbalancing the weight of the wind against the sails. Look at the split now between the two teams. Williams is on the left-hand side, Ainsley's on the right. If Ainsley and Terry Hutchinson has called the tactics right, this could be a turnaround here. Williams now tacking right in the corner of the racecourse.
He's tagged.
This is going to be very close, and it's a crucial race in the semi-finals.
We're not crossing. We've got not crossing. Here. Need to get up. Do you agree with that, Jerry? Do you think we might cross?
Williams is talking to his main sheet man, Jerry Mitchell. Are we going to cross? He doesn't think so. Maybe he's going to cross. This is close. You can see both boats coming at it. No, no cross. So Ainsley is dialing down at Ian Williams.
He's miles below being reached. Bow up. He's miles below.
Well, look at that. Williams thinks... Oh, it's a green flag. Williams thinks that Ainsley was fouling him by going below 90 degrees.
Okay, we got a piece of him? Okay, let's just get a fast rounding then, guys.
Feel the frantic action on board.
Keep it going, guys.
Bow up over him.
Okay, bows at the mark. Easy.
Now we can hear Ben Ainsley. He can feel the sense of importance of this. He said, keep it going, guys. He knows that they've just got a great opportunity to go through to the finals here. And he's now got a 2 to 3 boat length lead, and when Ben Ainsley's got a lead of 2 or 3 boat lengths, it's pretty hard to wind him down.
Okay, let's do it then. Here we go.
But Williams and his team are trying. They're giving it everything they can as they jibe downwind towards the finishing line.
That's it.
Williams there with the blue spinnaker. Looks like it's going to be difficult for him, jibing back down towards Ainsley. Ainsley just really focusing on his boat speed, trying to go as quickly as possible. And the Oracle boat looks like it's snapped out to a decent 4 or 5 boat length lead. There you can see the difference. Williams really going to have to do something special here. Around the leeward mark, the course very simple, just twice around, up to a windward mark, down to a leeward mark, twice around and then to the finish. So they've got one more lap to go. Crew just getting all the bits and pieces ready. There's Mark Williams ready to receive the spinnaker. They want to do the drop as late as possible. You can see how late that was. It was almost as they were going around the mark. Now Williams just calling the new shift as they go around the bottom. We've just been lifted a bit here, and you can see the distance that Williams has managed to catch up just a little bit in between the two because they've been lifted. Ainsley's had to do 2 tacks to try and get on the wind.
It's got light here, guys.
And it has gone very light.
Okay, we'll wait in, please.
Breeze up and down around the harbour, and that's often the case when there's land all around the racecourse, is that it slows down and accelerates around the trees and the buildings and the mountains. And the skill of the sailor is being able to suss out exactly where that breeze is coming from and where the advantage is going to be. Look what Williams has done here. He's caught right back up.
That's a big game. Can I hang in here? Let's try and get the bow up. Try and get the bow.
Look at that. There's only a boat length or 2 between them now. Williams is really sensing an opportunity to get back into this. He's given away the lead once already. No, it's heading, and that's hurting Williams. He's having to tack away. Breeze is going towards the right-hand side, so it's heading breeze, it's going to the right. And Ainsley is continuing into that header. He will at some point tack. take the lift and try and bank again. It's all about risk management on the racecourse here today.
Okay, here we go, tacking here.
And there are a few better at risk management and wind shift tracking than
guys,
Ben
those
Ainslie.
lights, keep it going.
And look what he's done there. He's crushed him. That is a big, big lead there, coming towards the final windward mark.
Okay, bows on the mark. Okay, go, Jerry.
There you go, Ainslie just communicating clearly with his crew, telling them exactly what's going on around the course. Some of them can't see where the windward mark is, and that is really communicating to the mastman and the bowman who are hoisting the spinnaker up. Williams just getting a little bit of that spinnaker in the water. Doesn't look like it's going to be too serious. But here they go downwind, and Williams hasn't got his spinnaker set properly, and look at the lead that Ainslie's got. He has really shown why he is a force to be reckoned with in sailing, and now particularly in match racing. Super sailing to go through to the final. Ben Ainslie just needs his flag, and he is looking for it right here as they come towards the finishing line. Ben Ainslie through to the finals.
Today the wind was shiftier and it was more about just sailing your own race on the shifts, and that definitely suited our style of sailing. Ian's very aggressive, which is good if it's a one-way track, but for this kind of sailing it's probably not so good, so it was our day for sure.
The final results from the semi-final round. Ben Ainslie beat Ian Williams 3 races to 1, and Ed Baird gets through his semi-final matchup against Jesper Bank unbeaten. Ed Baird and the Allianz crew head through to the finals after wrapping up the quarter and semi-final rounds with a 1-loss, 6-win record, and the team looking spectacular form in the tricky conditions.
The guys have done a great job. You know, the timing has been really nice in the pre-starts, and the boat handling all around the race course, picking the shifts well, and really paying attention to the current. It's been almost every race has been different in what works for current versus wind shift. So it's been a real challenge to get that right.
2 times Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainslie, skippering a crew that seems to be excelling in San Francisco Bay's unpredictable conditions, enters the finals after 3 straight wins over tour leader Ian Williams.
We're really happy with the way the event's gone so far, and it's going to be a really tough fight against Ed, but we're up for it. We really want to get stuck into it. Good.
It's race 1 of the finals in the Allianz Cup 2006.
Well, there's Ed Baird, and here is Ben Ainslie right into the pre-start. This looks like the dial-up, and it is Ed Baird who's coming in from the right, and that means Ben Ainslie has to keep clear. Now you can see the umpires right behind, a few of the spectator boats just sniffing around the race course, making sure they can see the action. Here they go, peeling out of the dial-up. Ed Baird, a veteran of the World Match Race Tour here, and of at least 3 or 4 America's Cups. Ben Ainslie in his first full America's Cup programme. James Dagg there, Tony Ray, the core of the Emirates Team New Zealand crew. This is a big deal for Ben Ainslie because Ed Baird and Allianz are the holders of the America's Cup. Emirates Team New Zealand, one of the 3 top challengers against Allianz for the America's Cup next April 2007 in Valencia, Spain. So these races here are the absolute nuts and bolts prior to the big show down at the America's Cup in Valencia. If Ben Ainslie can show his smarts here, it will give his Emirates Team New Zealand a real boost against Allianz. Ben Ainslie really seems to have the bit between the teeth here as we're in the pre-start. They're just trying to jostle for position. You either try and get a penalty, you try and start ahead, or you take the correct side of the racecourse. 20 seconds to go. You can hear the countdown now on board the boats as Ed Baird starts his wind-up. Ben Ainslie also winds up for the gun. It's very close between them here. Here they go, winding up, the bowman calling it. There's Terry Hutchinson, go, go, go. They're all clear. Super start from Ainsley, but Ed Baird is to windward, so actually you can see here from this shot that Baird got a much better start. And he's almost already rolling over the top of Ben Ainsley.
Coming on slowly, big puff here. Watch it, here he comes. Here he comes.
So Ainsley tacks and Ed Baird tacks straight on his face.
Okay.
That is the best way to keep between your man and the next mark. Ed Baird finally allows Ainsley to shift off towards the left-hand side. Ed Baird thinks he's in control here. Looks like a reasonably safe move. You never quite know with Ainsley because he's very fast around the racecourse.
Back here.
Ed Baird very much in control still. That's Niels Frey, the trimmer on board Ed Baird's boat, part of the Allingi team. Oh, it looks like there's a big gain there for Ainsley. Look at that. Ben Ainsley and Terry Hutchinson. Terry Hutchinson called a super shift. And look at that. Ainsley is right back into Ed Baird. It's very close indeed. And they're luffing hard. It's Ainsley who's luffing. Ed Baird is protesting. What do the umpires say? Green flag, no penalty. So it's very close. They're trying to get around the windward mark. Ed Baird is squealing. He thinks that Ben Ainsley, he has. Well, Ben Ainsley has been penalised. There's a blue flag against Ainsley, so he luffed too hard. There's another white flag from Ed Baird, and look at that. Ainsley's had to do his penalty immediately. So he's obviously been given a red flag penalty, and that means that there was a change of lead along the race course. As a result, Ed Baird is in much better shape than Ben Ainsley, but Ainsley will not let him go. He's like a dog with a bone here, and there's now, even after a penalty, only a couple of boat lengths in it. There's the blue flag representing the penalty that Ainsley has got to complete at some point before the finishing line. Ed Baird crosses at least 3 boat length lead, so that's all right for Ed Baird. No significant problems at this stage, but as we saw from the last upwind leg, if you pick the shifts correctly and you get the puffs of breeze in your favour, it can all change around pretty quickly. 4 or 5 boat length lead there to Ed Baird. Blue Spinnaker pulling no problem, and the breeze looks pretty solid. Craig Satterthwaite there on board Ed Baird's boat.
Yeah, that's not, yeah, 3 more, yeah, that's right.
As they come down to the finish, Ben Ainsley can't take it back at him, and so Ed Baird takes a valuable win in the finals.
Ben Ainsley won the start of the second race, forcing Baird late at the boat end and then dominating for a wire-to-wire win. In race 3, Ainsley came off the start line to leeward of Baird, extended towards the shoreline, won the first cross, and controlled the match to the line. With Ainsley leading 2 races to 1, it was do or die time for Ed Baird. We now join Andy Green to talk us through the action of race 4.
Well, Ed Baird is 2-1 down in the standings, so it's very important that he wins this next race. Ben Ainsley holding the slight advantage. Here they are in the pre-start. Ben Ainsley peels away out of the dial-up. Ed Baird now following.
Here.
Ainsley talking to his team right there. That's Jeremy Lomas on the bow. Super scenery here at the Allianz Cup, and we could not have asked for a more thrilling final. Ed Baird needs to win 2 races, this one and the next. Ben Ainslie is on match point, he just needs to win 1 more. They're ducking and diving in the pre-start. This is all preparations for their slingshot start. Trying to get the best position. And Ed Baird trying to get underneath Ben Ainslie as they come up towards the starting line. Don't go over the starting line.
Cut, go. Trim main, please. Main, please.
Ed Baird doesn't look entirely happy with his positioning there. Ben Ainslie free to tack away. And go for the start. There's the gun. There's Ainslie. Where is Ed Baird? Oh, Ed Baird. Not a good look from such an accomplished veteran sailor as Ed Baird. And look, you can see him pursing his lips. He will be furious inside. To start at least 2 or 3 boat lengths behind Ben Ainslie right off the line is a very, very bad error in the final of the 2006 Allianz Cup. And look at that. Ben Ainslie is leading by 5 lengths at least. That is dominating. And if Ben Ainslie wins, he goes through to take the 2006 Allianz Cup, and more importantly than that, a significant psychological victory against Alinghi, the current defenders of the America's Cup. Coming up towards the windward mark now. The breeze is filling in just a little bit. Now what Ed Baird wants is for the breeze to go very light and fluffy, because that's his best chance at getting some extra puff of breeze or something around the race course that's going to help him out. And at the moment, it doesn't look like it's happening. Strained faces there on board Ben Ainslie's boat. They can see the importance of getting downwind and putting distance in between them and Ed Baird. Ed Baird really calling for it now. He knows how much pressure he's under. There's a definite sense of tension on board Ed Baird's boat. They are not winning, and they are behind. They are match point down.
It's just a lot of wake and wave that's going on.
Ben Ainslie looking behind at Ed Baird, and there just seemed a sense of satisfaction there. Terry Hutchinson certainly isn't taking anything for granted. He's seen plenty of races lost from a leading position like this. Look at that, 6 or 7 boat lengths. Now they've got to make sure they don't chuck the spinnaker in the water. That is another possibility.
All the way, Trey.
Ben Ainslie talking to his main sheet man, Tony Ray.
Nice, mate.
Trey, one of the founding members of the America's Cup band, and look at this, Pete Van Nieuwhausen. Tony Ray, a very accomplished singer and guitar player, so he's part of the band that they put together on the America's Cup and match racing circuit. But look at that, Pete Van Nieuwhausen. We just saw that on the last shot.
Here we go.
Got the spinnaker around the bow, and actually the spinnaker sheet went underneath the bow, so when it goes bad, it often goes horrible. Look at Ed Baird, you can see him, he's furious. He's so annoyed with himself or his crew or something about giving away that advantage so easily at the starting line.
Go, Jerry.
Ainslie encouraging his crew. Spinnaker up, no problem. Down towards the finishing line, and Ainslie just needs to keep it clean. Good set on board Ed Baird's boat, and a nice puff of breeze. Glimmer of opportunity, perhaps. Well, the top shot shows us that it's going to have to be something pretty special. Just starting to relax a little bit more on Ben Ainslie's boat as they come past the leeward mark. It's another 4 or 5 lengths, and this a superb victory for Ben Ainslie and Emirates Team New Zealand against the America's Cup holders Ed Baird and Alinghi, and you can see how pleased they were. Super sailing to take the 2006 Allianz Cup.
We struggled a bit in the first race, and I messed up the windward mark, gave ourselves 2 penalties. After that we nailed the starts, and Terry did an amazing job on the shifts, and the crew work was really good, and we pulled away in all the races, so it was a really good way to win it.
Ben made it pretty easy the last couple races. You know, he did a fabulous job in the pre-starts, and when you start with a 2 or 3 boat length lead and you sail with the caliber of people that we sail with, you expect to maintain those leads. And you know, it's just a great feeling, because all the way through it, just, you know, through our America's Cup program, through everything we've been working for the past couple of years, it just says a lot about what we've been doing at home. So it's absolutely spectacular.
Ben Ainslie and the Emirates Team New Zealand crew became the 5th first-time winner on the World Match Tour this season, with a dominant performance on the San Francisco Harbor. So, the final standings for the Allianz Cup 2006 looked like this. Ben Ainslie on top of the board with a 3-win, 1-loss final series over Ed Baird. And Jesper Bank overcame a red card penalty in the second race of the Petit Final to wrap up a 2-win victory over Ian Williams for 3rd place. Despite the loss in the finals, Ed Baird moved into 2nd place on the World Tour Championship leaderboard. Ian Williams and Team Pindar lead the tour standings on 47 points, and Jesper Bank's 3rd place moved him into 3rd equal with Paolo Cian. That wraps up the week's action from San Francisco. Join us on the next stop of the tour, the Monsoon Cup from Kuala Terengganu, Malaysia.